Good morning, University of Mindanao and the rest of the world. This is Alizar Bagundang saying just the fact, revealing just the truth. Canto 13 News. For the headline, Early Greece, emergence of the city-states an essential institution in Greek life and the Greek colonization of the Mediterranean and Black Sea. The emergence of the city-states or police as a central institution in Greek life was a result of several factors. One of the primary factors was the geography of Greece, which is characterized by the rugged terrain and the lack of navigable rivers. These geographic features made it difficult for a centralized government to maintain control over a large territory and instead lead to the development of independent city-states. Each police was typically governed by a small group of aristocrats who were responsible for maintaining law and order, providing for common defense, promoting economic prosperity. Citizens of the police were expected to participate in political process and defend the police in times of war. The Greek colonization of Mediterranean and Black Sea regions occurred during the 8th and 7th century BCE. This expansion was driven by a number of factors including overpopulation, a desire for new resources, and a need to establish new trade routes. Greek colonies were typically established by a small group of settlers who would establish a new police in foreign territory. These colonies were often strategically located near important trade routes and natural resources and serve as important centers of trade and cultural exchange. As Greek colonization continued, the Greek city-states became increasingly interconnected through trade and cultural exchange. This led to the development of a shared Greek identity and emergence of Pan-Hellenic culture, characterized by shared values, religious beliefs, and artistic traditions. So how did the geography of Greece affect the Greek history in terms of politics, military development, and economy? Nicole?
The geography of Greece played a significant role in shaping the country's history, particularly in terms of politics, military development, and the economy. First, the mountainous terrain of Greece made it difficult for political power to be centralized, which led to the development of city-states such as Athens and Sparta. These city-states were autonomous and had their own laws, government, and military forces, which led to a centralized political system in ancient Greece. And secondly, the sea played an important role in the Greek economy, as it allowed for the maritime trade, fishing, and naval warfare. The Greeks developed a strong navy, which helped them to dominate the Aegean Sea and establish colonies throughout the Mediterranean. Thirdly, the rugged terrain of Greece made it difficult for large armies to move across the land, which led to the development of a unique military style. The Greek armies were made of hoplites, heavily armed infantry soldiers who fought in tight formation, known as a phalanx. The phalanx was effective in the hilly terrain of Greece and allowed to Greeks to fend off invasions from neighboring empires such as Persia. Lastly, the geography of Greece also had an impact on its economic development. The lack of fertile land and the natural resources forced the Greeks to trade with other civilizations, leading to mercantile economy. Additionally, the Greeks were skilled in the production of goods such as pottery, metalwork, and textiles, which were highly valued and exported throughout the Mediterranean. In summary, the geography of Greece played a significant role in shaping its history, particularly in terms of its political structures, military tactics, economic development, and trade relations with other civilizations.
On the other news, who is Homer and why was his work used as a basis of Greek education? Nicole?
Homer was an ancient Greek poet who is credited with composing two epic poems, the Iliad and the Odyssey. The exact dates of his birth and death are unknown, but he is believed to have lived around 8th century BCE. Homer's work was highly regarded in ancient Greece and was used as the basis for Greek education. The Iliad and the Odyssey were both epic poems that told the stories of heroes and gods, and they provide important insights into ancient Greek culture, society, and religion. The Iliad tells the story of the Trojan War, which was fought between the Greeks and the Trojans over the beautiful Helen of Troy. The poem describes the battles between the two sides and the exploits of the Greek heroes, including Achilles, Agamemnon, and Odysseus. The Odyssey, the other hand, tells the story of Odysseus, a Greek hero who fought in the Trojan War and then spent 10 years to get back home to his wife and the son. The poem describes his adventures on the high seas, including encounters with mythical creatures such as Cyclops and his struggles to overcome obstacles and return to his homeland. The Homer's works were valued literally and cultural significance, and they were used to teach important values and lessons to Greek students. This included importance of courage, honor, and loyalty, as well as the dangers of pride, arrogance, and temptation. In addition to their educational value, Homer's work will also admired to their poetic beauty and storytelling powers. His works were later translated and studied in other cultures, and they continue to be regarded masterpieces of world literature.
The world of the city-states, the police, the Greek expansion and the growth of trade, and the foreign influence on early Greek culture. The police or city-state was the basic political unit of ancient Greece. It consists of central city and its surrounding territory and was characterized by a sense of community and shared identity among its citizens. Each police had its own government, laws, and customs and was often in competition with neighboring city-states for power and resources. Greek expansion and the growth of trade occurred during the archaic and classical period of Greek history, around 8th century BCE to 4th century BCE. Greek colonies were established throughout the Mediterranean and Black Sea regions, expanding trade and cultural exchange. This expansion was driven by a combination of factors, including overpopulation, a desire for new resources, and a need to establish new trade routes. Foreign influence on early Greek culture was significant. The Minoans and Mycenaeans, for example, heavily influenced early Greek civilization with their arts, architecture, and religious practices. In addition, Greek trade with other cultures such as Phoenicians and Egyptians led to the adoption of new technologies, ideas, and customs. The police was the basic political unit of ancient Greece. Greek expansion and the growth of trade occurred during the archaic and classical periods, and foreign influence on early Greek culture was significant. What were the chief features of the police for the city-states, and how did the city-states of Athens and Sparta differ? Ken?
The polis or city-state was the central institution of ancient Greece. It was a self-governing community that included a city and its surrounding territory, and it was the primary political and social unit in ancient Greece. The chief features of the polis included the following: political autonomy, where each polis was self-governing and had its own political system, laws, and institutions. Social organization, where the polis was organized into different social classes, including citizens, non-citizens, and slaves. Economic activity, where the polis was responsible for regulating trade, commerce, and agriculture within its territory. And lastly, cultural identity, where each polis had its own unique culture, including language, religion, art, and literature. Athens and Sparta were two of the most famous city-states in ancient Greece, and they differed in several key ways. Athens was known for its democracy, which was established in the 5th century CE. The Athenian democracy was based on the principle of direct participation and equality, and all male citizens had the right to vote and participate in the government. Athens was also a cultural center known for its philosophy, literature, and art. Sparta, on the other hand, was known for its militarism and emphasis on discipline and obedience. The Spartan government was an oligarchy, with power held by a small group of aristocrats. All Spartan citizens were required to undergo rigorous military training from a young age, and the state placed a premium on physical fitness, endurance, and loyalty to the community. Overall, Athens and Sparta represented different models of Greek political and social organization. Athens was known for its democratic and cultural achievements, while Sparta was known for its militaristic and austere way of life.
In terms of expansion, what are various factors that made Greeks establish their colonies in many parts of the Mediterranean? Can
The Greeks established colonies through the Mediterranean for several reasons, including population growth. As the population of Greece grew, there was increasing pressure in resources and land. Establishing colonies allows Greeks to find new resources of food, raw materials, and territory to sell. Trade. The Greeks were known for their seafaring skills and maritime trade, and establishing colonies allowed them to expand their trade networks and access to new markets. Political instability. The city-states of ancient Greece were often in conflict with one another, and establishing colonies allowed them to project their power and influence beyond their own territories. Cultural diffusion. The Greeks were proud of their culture and language, and establishing colonies allowed them to spread their language, art, and ideas to other parts of Mediterranean. Religious factors. Some colonies were established for religious reasons, such as to establish new shrines or temples for Greek gods. Military expansion. Some colonies were established for strategic military purposes, such as to create a naval base or to secure strategic resources. Overall, the Greeks established colonies throughout the Mediterranean for a variety of economic, political, cultural, and strategic reasons. These colonies helped to spread Greek culture and influence throughout the Mediterranean and contributed to the overall expansion of ancient Greece civilization.
So what aspects of colonies' locations facilitated trade between them and city-states in Greece?
The location of Greek colonies was a crucial factor in facilitating trade between them and the city-states in the Greece. Many of the colonies were located in strategic locations along trade routes in Mediterranean, which made them important centers of commerce. These colonies often had access to natural resources such as timber, metals, and agricultural products, which were high demand in Greece. Additionally, the colonies often had good harbors and ports, which made them ideal locations for shipping and receiving goods. This allowed Greek merchants to establish trading networks with the colonies, exchanging goods such as olive oil, wine, pottery, and textile goods from the colonies such as metals, timber, and agricultural products. Some of the most important colonies for trade were located in western Mediterranean, such as the southern Italy, Sicily, and the coast of northern Africa. These colonies were strategically located in important trade routes and had access to valuable resources such as grain, wool, and metals. The colonies also played an important role in spreading Greek culture and ideas, as well as in facilitating the exchange of knowledge and technology. Greek colonies established schools, libraries, and academies in many of the colonies, where they taught subjects such as philosophy, mathematics, and medicine. This allowed the colonies to become centers of learning and intellectual exchange, which further facilitated trade and culture exchange between them and the city-states in Greece.
Classical Greece, the high point of Greek civilization. Classical Greece refers to the period of Greek history between the end of Persian Wars in 449 BCE and the death of Alexander the Great in 323 BCE. This period is considered to be the high point of Greek civilization, characterized by a flourishing of art, literature, philosophy, and political thought. During this period, Athens emerged as a dominant power in this Greek world, and the city-states experienced a period of unprecedented cultural and intellectual growth. The Athenian democracy, established in 508 BCE, gave political power to a wider range of citizens, leading to a flowering of creative thought and artistic expression. The Greek city-states also engaged in intense cultural and political competition, with Athens and Sparta emerging as the two dominant powers. This competition led to the period of rapid cultural development, with the flourishing of drama, poetry, philosophy, and the visual arts. Classical Greek art is characterized by a focus of human form, with an emphasis of balance, proportion, and harmony. The most famous example of classical Greek art include the Parthenon Temple in Athens, which was built in the 5th century BCE, and the bronze statue of Zeus at Olympia, which was created by the sculptor Phidias in the 5th century BCE. In philosophy, the classical period saw the emergence of Greek thinkers such as Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle, who sought to understand the nature of the universe, the role of the individual in society, meaning of human existence. Their ideas have had a profound influence on Western thought and philosophy. In literature, the classical period produced some of the greatest works in the Western canon, including the epic poems of Homer, the tragedies of Aeschylus, Sophocles, and Euripides, in the comedies of Aristophanes. The classical period of Greek history is considered to be the high point of Greek civilization, characterized by a flourishing of art, literature, philosophy, and political thought. It saw the emergence of Athens as a dominant power in Greek world, and the development of a culture that has had a lasting impact on Western civilization. What did the Greek means by democracy? And in what ways was the Athenian political system a democracy?
The Greeks defined democracy as the role of the people, or the power of the citizens to govern themselves. In a democracy, the people have the right to participate in the government, to express their opinion, and to influence the decisions that affect their lives. The Athenian political system was a direct democracy, meaning that all citizens had the right to participate directly in the government. Athenian citizens were males who were born in Athens, over the age of 18, and who had completed military service. Women, foreigners, and slaves were excluded from citizenship and could participate in the government. In the Athenian democracy, the citizens gathered in a large assembly, known as the ecclesia, to debate and vote on important issues. All citizens had the right to speak in the assembly, and decisions were made by majority vote. The Athenian democracy also included a system of courts, where citizens served as jurors and judges in legal cases. The Athenian democracy was based on the principle of isonomia, or equality before the law. All citizens had equal political rights and were subject to the same laws and penalties. This principle of equality also extended to the distribution of political power, as the Athenian democracy sought to prevent any one group or individual from gaining too much power and dominating the government. Overall, the Athenian political system was a form of direct democracy that allowed citizens to participate directly in the government and to have a voice in the decisions that affected their lives. While the Athenian democracy was not perfect and excluded many groups from participation, it represented an important step towards the development of democratic political systems that would influence political taught and practiced for centuries to come.
The rise of Macedonia, the conquest of Alexander the Great and his characteristic. The conquest of Alexander the Great refers to the military campaigns of Alexander III of Macedon, who in period of 13 years between 334 to 323 BCE conquered a vast empire that stretched from Greece to India. Alexander's conquest had a profound impact on the ancient world and laid in the foundations of Hellenistic period, characterized by the spread of Greek culture and ideas throughout the Mediterranean and Near East. Alexander was born in 356 BCE, the son of King Philip II of Macedon, and was educated by the philosopher Aristotle. He became king at the age of 20. Following the assassination of his father, Alexander was an exceptional military strategist and possessed an unshakable belief in his own destiny. He was also known for his courage, charisma, and loyalty he inspired in his soldiers. Alexander's military campaign began in 334 BCE with the invasion of Persian Empire. In a series of stunning victories, Alexander defeated the Persian armies at the Battle of Granicus, the Battle of Issus, and the Battle of Gaugamela. He then marched across the Persian Empire, capturing its capital at Babylon and subduing the various satraps and provinces. After the Persian conquest, Alexander continued his campaign of conquest, marching eastward into India. Along the way, he founded a number of new cities, including Alexandria in Egypt and Bactra in Central Asia. However, his army was eventually forced to turn back due to exhaustion and money. Alexander's legacy was significant, and his conquest established Greek culture as the dominant culture force in the Mediterranean and Near East. His military campaigns also had a lasting impact on the art, literature, and philosophy of the ancient world, as well as on the development of Hellenistic civilization. So how was Alexander the Great able to amass his empire, and what was his legacy? Ken?
Alexander the Great was able to amass his empire through a combination of military conquest and strategic diplomacy. He inherited the throne of Macedon at the age of 20 and immediately began to expand his empire. One of the key factors that enabled Alexander's success was his military leadership and tactics. He was a brilliant strategist and tactician, and his army was highly trained and disciplined. He also had a deep understanding of geography and used this knowledge to his advantage in his conquests. Another factor that contributed to Alexander's success was his ability to win the loyalty of his soldiers and his subjects. He was known for his charisma and personal courage, and he inspired great loyalty and devotion from his followers. Alexander's conquest began with the invasion of Persia, which he defeated in serious battles culminating in the Battle of Gaugamela in 331 BCE. He then continued to expand his empire eastwards, conquering territories in Central Asia and India. Alexander's legacy is complex and multifaceted. On the one hand, he is remembered as one of the greatest military commanders of all time, and his conquest had a profound impact on the history of ancient world. He created a vast empire that stretched from Greece to India, and his conquest helped to spread Greek culture and ideas throughout the ancient world. At the same time, Alexander's legacy is also marked by controversy and criticism. His conquest was marked by brutality and violence, and his empire was characterized by a hierarchy and the subjugation of conquered peoples. Additionally, his sudden death at the age of 32 created a power vacuum that led to a period of instability and conflict in the ancient world. Despite the complexities, Alexander the Great remains one of the most important figures in world history, and his legacy continues to be felt today. His conquest helped to shape the political and cultural landscape of the ancient world, and his achievements continue to inspire and captivate people around the world.
Approximately how far did Alexander and his troops travel during those 12 years?
Alexander the Great and his troops traveled approximately 22,000 miles during his 12 years of conquest. This is a remarkable achievement given the technology and resources available at that time. Alexander and his army crossed deserts, mountains, and rivers and fought battles in diverse terrain ranging from the Mediterranean coast to the plains of India. His campaigns extended from Greece to India and covered territories in Europe, Asia, and Africa. This vast distance covered by Alexander and his troops is a testament to his military leadership, strategic planning, and the skill and endurance of his army.
Was Alexander an idealistic dreamer, a stone believer, or was he a brutal military leader who was responsible for mass slaughter in pursuing his dream? Han?
The legacy of Alexander the Great is complex and multifaceted, and his opinion on his character and accomplishments vary widely among historians and scholars. Some historians view Alexander as an idealistic dreamer driven by a desire to spread Greek culture and ideas throughout the world. They argue that his conquests were motivated by a genuine belief in the power of Greek civilization and that he saw himself as a visionary leader who could bring enlightenment and progress to the people he conquered. Others, however, view Alexander as a brutal military leader who was responsible for mass slaughter in pursuing his dream. They argue that his conquests were marked by violence and bloodshed and that his actions were driven by a ruthless pursuit of power and glory. The truth likely lies somewhere in between these two perspectives. Alexander was undoubtedly a complex figure driven by a mix of idealism, ambition, and a desire for personal glory. His conquests were marked by both acts of heroism and acts of brutality, and his legacy is characterized by both admiration and criticism. Ultimately, the legacy of Alexander the Great is shaped by cultural and historical context in which he lived. His achievement continues to inspire and fascinate people around the world, and his impact on the history of ancient world is undeniable. However, his legacy is also marked by controversy and criticism, as his conquest was characterized by violence, subjugation, and the imposition of Greek culture and ideas on conquered peoples.
What is Aryan's opinion of Alexander? Why do they think he was so praiseworthy of Alexander's character?
Aryan's opinion of Alexander is generally positive, and he portrays him as a great military leader and conqueror. Aryan praises Alexander's courage, intelligence, and strategic acumen and highlights his ability to inspire and lead his troops to victory. Aryan was likely so praiseworthy of Alexander's character because he was a Greek himself and admired the cultural and intellectual achievement of the Greeks. He saw Alexander's conquests as a way of spreading Greek culture and ideas throughout the world, and he may have viewed him as a hero and a champion of Greek civilization. At the same time, Aryan was also a historian who sought to provide an accurate and detailed account of Alexander's campaign, so his praise of Alexander's character may also reflect his objective assessment of the historical record.
The world of Hellenistic kingdoms. The Hellenistic kingdoms were a group of kingdoms that emerged in the wake of Alexander the Great's conquest in the late 4th century BCE. These kingdoms were characterized by a fusion of Greek and local cultures and were centered around major cities such as Alexandria, Antioch, and Pergamum. Under the Hellenistic kingdoms, Greek language, culture, and ideas spread across a vast territory that stretched from the Mediterranean to the Indus River. This cultural diffusion, known as Hellenization, was accompanied by the spread of Greek art, philosophy, and science, and it had a lasting impact on the development of Western civilization. So how did the political, economic, and social institutions of the Hellenistic world differ from those of classical Greece? Nicole?
The Hellenistic world refers to the period of ancient Greek history that followed the conquest of Alexander the Great and lasted from the late 4th century BCE to the 1st century BCE. During this time, Greek culture and influence spread throughout the Mediterranean and Near East, resulting in significant changes to political, economic, and social institutions. Political institutions. In the Hellenistic world, political power was more centralized and often held by monarchs or powerful dynasties rather than city-states, as was common in classical Greece. The most notable example of this was the Hellenistic kingdoms, which were ruled by powerful monarchs such as Ptolemaic dynasty in Egypt, Seleucid dynasty in Asia, and the Antigonid dynasty in Greece. These monarchs had greater control over their territories and were able to implement more centralized government policies. Economic institution. The Hellenistic period saw increased trade and economic growth, with the establishment of new trade routes and the growth of cities. The economy shifted from an agricultural base to a more diverse economy, with a growing emphasis on commerce, and manufacturing and trade. The Hellenistic world also saw the rise of large industrial production, such as the production of textile, pottery, and metal goods. Social institution. In the Hellenistic world, social institutions became more diverse and cosmopolitan, reflecting the influence of various cultures and peoples. The emergence of large urban centers to the rise of new social classes, such as the merchant class and the professional class. Women also gained more rights and freedom, and the spread of Greek culture led to the development of a more diverse and cosmopolitan society. Overall, the Hellenistic world was characterized by the greater centralization of political power, increased economic growth, and diversification, and the emergence of a more diverse and cosmopolitan society. These changes represented a departure from the decentralized city-state system of classical Greece and had significant impact on the course of ancient Mediterranean history.
What are the culture in Hellenistic world, the social life, and the new opportunities for women?
The Hellenistic period, which began after the death of Alexander the Great in 323 BCE and lasted until the Roman conquest in the 1st century BC, was a time of great cultural and social change throughout the ancient Mediterranean world. During this period, Greek culture and language spread across the region, and the new opportunities arose for women in various aspects of society. Culture in the Hellenistic world. The Hellenistic world was marked by a fusion of Greek culture without local costumes and traditions in the regions it conquered. This resulted in a rich and diverse cultural tapestry that included art, architecture, philosophy, and literature. One of the most notable cultural achievements of the Hellenistic period was the development of the Alexandrian Library, which was the largest and most comprehensive library of the ancient world. It was located in the city of Alexandria, which became a center of learning and scholarship. Greek philosophy also continued to develop during this period, with notable thinkers such as Epicurus, Zeno of Citium, and Cicero of Elis. Social life. The Hellenistic period saw the emergence of new social structures and classes, as well as spread of Greek style urbanization across conquered territories. This led to the growth of cities, which became centers of trade, commerce, and cultural exchange. As a result of this urbanization, the social life of the Hellenistic world was characterized by a diverse and cosmopolitan population, with people from different regions and cultures living and working together. The development of new forms of entertainment, such as theater and sports, also contributed to the richness of social life in the Hellenistic period. New opportunities for women. The Hellenistic period was a significant expansion in the opportunities available to women in various aspects of society. Women were able to participate in public life to a greater extent than before, and some were able to achieve positions of influence and power. In the realm of religion, women were able to participate in various cults and festivals as priestesses, and some even held high-ranking positions in the major temples. In the area of education, some women were able to receive formal training in philosophy, rhetoric, and other subjects. In addition, women were able to participate in the economic life of the cities, engaging in trade and commerce and managing their own businesses. Some women were also able to exercise political power, particularly in the Hellenistic kingdoms, where royal women were able to wield significant influence as regents and advisors to their husbands or sons. Overall, the Hellenistic period was a time of significant culture and social change, marked by the fusion of Greek and local cultures, the emergence of new social structures and classes, the expansion of opportunities for women in various aspects of society.
What is the religion in the Hellenistic world, and what is the philosophy in these new schools of thought?
The Hellenistic period was a time of great religious and philosophical ferment throughout the ancient Mediterranean world. Greek culture and religion spread across the conquered territories, and new philosophical schools of thought emerged that sought to provide answers to the deep questions of human existence. Religion in the Hellenistic world. Religion played an important role in the Hellenistic world, and Greek gods and goddesses were worshipped in many of the conquered territories. However, the Hellenistic period also saw the emergence of new religious movements such as the mystery religions and the cult of the emperor. The mystery religions were secretive and exclusive and promised their initiates a deeper understanding of the divine. Examples of mystery religions include the cult of Dionysus, the cult of Cybele, and the cult of Isis. The cult of emperor emerged in the later Hellenistic period and was characterized by the worship of the Roman emperor as a divine figure. This cult was particularly popular in the eastern part of the Roman Empire, where it served to legitimize Roman rule and to foster a sense of loyalty and unity among diverse peoples of the region. Philosophy in the Hellenistic world. Philosophy continued to be an important intellectual pursuit in the Hellenistic world, and new schools of thought emerged that sought to provide answers to the deep questions of human existence. These new schools of thought were often characterized by a more practical and personal approach to philosophy than more abstract and theoretical approach of the earlier Greek philosophers. Some of the most notable philosophical schools of the Hellenistic period include Epicurus. Founded by Epicurus, this school of thought emphasized the pursuit of pleasure and the avoidance of pain as the ultimate goal of life. Epicureanism also placed great emphasis on the importance of friendship and the cultivation of a simple and self-sufficient lifestyle. Stoicism, founded by Zeno of Citium. This call of thought emphasized the importance of living in accordance with nature and acceptance one's fate with equanimity.